Hello friends, welcome to my channel, Net Charity. In the education series today, CA Shri Vipin Batavia, explaining about what are the documents required during filing Form 10A and 10AB for seeking registration under Section 12AB and 80G for charitable trusts. Before going further, let me inform you that if you like the video, kindly like the channel, share and subscribe. This will be a gratitude towards the speaker. Let's start.
So now documents to be attached. Self-certified copy of the trust deed, self-certified. There is a rule 71 prescribes all these things. Even the form 10AB also in the notes they have given what are the documents to be attached. Only thing I want to touch here that Darpan registration is now become mandatory. Not officially, but it is now become mandatory.
Earlier, financial year accounts for the financial year 25 has to be given or till 24?
See, the requirement says last 3 years.
Okay.
Now, 22, nowhere they have mentioned audited accounts.
Okay, sir.
They're asking accounts. Now, of course, if audit is completed, we'll submit audited accounts. But 22, 23, 23, 24, you should file audited accounts. And 24, 25, if it is not complete, then provisional account, unaudited account, duly signed by the trustees, should be submitted. Then later on, audited accounts can be filed. The notes on activities, I have already earlier explained that you have to give the detailed notes, what are the activities have been conducted. And business income, if it is there, whether tax audit is applicable, then tax audit report is to be filed. Now, we need not file along with the application is audit 10B, 10BB, accumulation forms 9A, 10, or ITR or assessment orders. At this stage, it is not required. But be ready for all these things. They will ask during the hearing. Now, coming to the form. Now, here in the form, that section code is to be mentioned 01 for 12A, and for 80G it is 13. And it is it will come under the drop down. And for subclass 2, it is 01. In the notes, it is given. Like 10B and BB notes are given, detailed. There also below the 10AB form, detailed notes are given there. If you read those notes, I think more than half the questions will be solved yourself. Because they have given what is to be given, what is not to be. Now that code number is 0102, from the drop down, you can select the correct code, but please check twice while selecting the code, because wrong code will again create a problem. Then the clause number 3 is, you have to write, this is over, whether your trust is charitable, religious, or religious cum charitable. Now, purely charitable, you tick there. If it is fully religious, you tick there. And religious cum charitable, you tick there. If a small activity for religious is done, or a small charitable is done, then you will fall under the third category. You have to tick there. Then actual activities as per objects. You have to mention the activities. So that as per the trust deed or MOA, you have to write whatever the activities the trust is permitted to do. Even if the primarily religious or small quantum of charitable activities are done, you are going to then mix. Now, meaning of religious, I think it is already 6:20. I have given few judgment. Dauji Bora, Jamaat, Supreme Court has very clearly said some feeding of poor on religious occasion is a charity, not a religious activity. So even Shiva Shakti Shirdi Sai case also, the Hyderabad High Court has also said for universal brotherhood and teaching of Vedas and other script teaching is not a religious activity. Then Sripat Rampara Gurukul Trust Bangalore, there it said, this is also said, it doesn't involve offering of worship and prayer to God. So if it is not worshipping or praying to God, then it is not a religious activity. But that details can be read from these judgments. And there are many other more judgments are there which can help you, which is religious. And religious is not defined in the act. Next, please. See, type of constitution, either you can have trust, society, company, or other. Generally, there are three. But in Public Trust Act, where suppose Maharashtra Public Trust Act, the first step is to get the society registration, and then you are registered in the public trust. Your charity commissioner is acting in a dual capacity. He is registrar of societies as well as he is charity commissioner. So those two registrations are there. In that case, you should select society, because that is generally association go for society. So trust, society, or company, section 8 company, earlier 25. The society also register in Maharashtra, select the society. Date of incorporation is also they are asking. Now, date of incorporation, there are so many questions there. See, date of creation may be different from date of registration. You may register late, you may not register, that's a different thing. But in case of trust, the registered with charity commission, date of trust deed will be the date on which the trust is created, because the property is handed over to the trustees and the trust is formally created or incorporated on the date of trust deed, the day on which it is executed. The second is society. Society, it is the date of registration as a society. Thereafter, maybe Public Trust Act can be registered. Then Section 8 or Section 25 company, date of incorporation. Because license is granted, that is not the date of incorporation. The incorporation certificate date will be the date of incorporation. Now, objects of the applicant. Row number 5, where you have to write as per the trust deed and MOA. Not actually conducted, but whatever the objects of the applicant is to be mentioned. And there are drop down, you have to decide on the religious or various limbs of the charitable purpose. You can select various limbs. Next, please. Whether the trust deed contains clause that is trust is irrevocable. This is a very serious burning issue. Generally, the old trust deeds are not having this irrevocable clause. New trust, since we know in last 7 years, they are asking for this irrevocable clause in the trust deed, though dissolution clause is there. So in that case, they are rejecting the registration if there is no irrevocable clause. See, in Form 10A, when 5 years original registration were applied in 21-22, so there was also the same question whether the trust deed contained clause that the trust is irrevocable, and the answer was yes or no. So whether if you tick to yes or whether you tick to no, you were able to go forward and submit the form. Now, in 10AB, if you write no, you cannot go forward. And if it is not there, you cannot write yes. So you are nowhere. So this irrevocable clause, there is no mention or no requirement in the law. But Section 11 starts subject to provisions of Section 60 and 63. Application is made in India for the purpose of benefits in India. Whether the application to societies or companies or only to trust, question arises. So this irrevocability clause is applicable to only to trust, not to society and not to company, because in Companies Act there is a provision of dissolution. In society also there is a provision for dissolution of the society, but so far as the trust is concerned, there is no provision for dissolution. At least in Maharashtra and Gujarat, you have to go to court to dissolve the trust. So here the problem is what to do if irrevocable clause is not there. If there is a clause for dissolution, that is not a revocable clause. That is just an indicative clause. In case of dissolution, then the assets will not be distributed among the trustees and given to other organizations having similar objection. So in that case, there is no directly mention of irrevocability. And in Indian Trust Act, Section 78 very clearly says that only the settler has power to revoke the trust. But generally, that Indian Trust Act is the provisions are mainly it is for private trust. No trust is registered under that. The states where there is no state law, say south of India and other states, there is no Bengal and other, there is no charity commissioner. So there they are registered under the old registration act 1810, I think. And they get it registered there, register of assurance, and then submit that to the income tax and go for registration under the income tax. So in that case, the advice is to change your trust deed and add this clause. Here in Bombay, if you at least produce that application submitted to the respective authority, then they are granting. So at least the trust has passed the resolution, trust has decided, and they have already submitted official application to the concerned authority for the change in the trust provisions, and irrevocability clause are there. But there are so many judgments. Few of them we have mentioned. See, there is a Tara education also there. It is in 2014 says that there is no need for the dissolution clause. Radisson India Charitable Institution, Delhi, there also says in the absence of dissolution clause, then a revocable clause is not required. Here also the charity commission was not agreed to put the irrevocable clause. It is perpetual. Why it is required? So thing is this clause is creating a lot of problem and going to be a very problematic during the given time. Because 5 years ago, you were knowing this question, whether your trust is registered irrevocable clause or not. There you wrote no. So you have not done anything in last 5 years. So that now they are going to take it seriously. The form itself doesn't move forward. So even in Supreme Court, in one case, which is Raghbir Singh, wherein he has said that is irrevocability is not required. Settler is not there at all. So this clause is very seriously is to be taken. The department is not allowing without that, because some years ago, CA has submitted a report to the Parliament after doing the detailed audit of the charitable trust organizations. They have put a note that registration is granted even there is no irrevocability clause in the trust deed. And since then it has started. Anyway, this is a position for that clause. And one more is important is details of assets. So whether the registered Darpan is also, it was mandatory for FCRA registration, and those who were getting state or central government grants, they were required to register that. But there is an amendment made by the government in money laundering law, wherein they said for the charitable trust, they should have, or RBI should see that there is a Darpan registration. Now, after 1 year, the RBI has issued a new KYC statement, wherein in 2016, I think, wherein the RBI has asked all the banks to obtain the Darpan registration for all charitable trusts. Now, in a short time, they started freezing the accounts, and those things are going on, and the Darpan site was also not working so properly. But people have got registration, and almost it is become mandatory for all the charitable trusts. So for Darpan, you have to give the details of the Darpan. Now, in Darpan also, if there is a change in the trustee, or in FCRA also, there is a change in the trusteeship, you have to intimate to them. See whether any application for registration has been rejected. Now, here the word is written only application. Now, whether it applies to all application or any other registration, but I think this is 10AB under income tax and the re-registration is under income tax. So I think for all means we should consider that the rejection under income tax. So if there is but FCRA, if it is rejected, we can give that information. And if there is a rejection, you can give the details. There may be cases where the ITIT has set aside or quashed the earlier judgment. In that case, also, I think the rejection detail should be given and a note should be submitted along with the other attachments that the ITIT has set aside or paused that order, and the further hearing is going on. Now, there is a claiming exemption under 1021. 1021 is applicable to research organizations where section 3512 or 3513 are there. You have to just mention yes or no. So there is no any details they are asking. Now, details of authors, founders. You all are aware that in audit report 10B and 10BB, we are supposed to give all these details. So almost every CA or every trust is having those details ready. Only thing is here they are asking on the day of application with their ID, relation, PAN number or Aadhaar number, address, mobile number, email address. And on the day of application, if there is a resignation, if there is a death, if there is a change, so that on the day of registration it is to be given. And if there is a more than 5% shareholding or there, those details are also to be given. Next, please. Now I am going little fast. I don't mind up to 7, Ashwini ji. So here in yeah. So clause number 10, details of school, college, university, hospital, yoga institute, religious places, any other institution being managed, controlled or administered or owned by the applicant. If those are owned by the applicant, those details are to be given in the form is there, format is there. You have to give those name, address, and all details what they are asking. It's very simple. But only thing is if the trust is controlling any other school, college, university, hospital, then those details of those organizations are to be given. So controlled and owned, controlled, administered, managed, controlled, administered, owned by the applicant. So if the applicant is managing, then those details are to be there. And who is the person in charge is to be given. So that is one of the requirements of who are the person in charge for that. Next, please, Ashwin bhai. Thank you, Ashwin bhai, for assisting for changing the slide.
No problem, sir.
If applicant has a business, so now business undertaking, 11(4) is a business undertaking. If any trust has received donation of or bequeath any business, so that becomes business entity which is being undertaken by the trust, and that is continue, and those income is a income of the trust, and it is treated as a charitable, though that business is commercial. So there is a details of given such type of business, nature of business, address, whether separate books of account maintained or not, because we have maintained separate books of account. And business undertaking means it was a business conducted by someone, he has donated the whole business to the trust. And second section is 11(4)(a), wherein a trust is entitled to do the business if the nature of business is incidental to the objects of the trust, and separate books of accounts are maintained. So only these two conditions there, that business should be incidental and separate books of account means separate bank, not separate account in the ledger, separate books of accounts in the sense that separate bank account, separate entries, separate balance sheet, separate audit. If it is tax audit is applicable, according to me, it is to be done because they are asking to attach the tax audit report. So there also, if those cases are there, you have to give those details. Next, please. So if the applicant has any income in the nature of profit and gains of business, details to be given. Now, whether this 4 and 4A, we have given, which is what is the meaning of incidental. Supreme Court, in the case of ODA, that is Ahmedabad Urban Development Authority, they have said the proper way of reading the reference term is incidental in 11.4A is to interpret it in the light of the subclause 1 of the proviso to 215. Means that the activity in the nature of business, trade or commerce or services in relation to such activities should be conducted actually in the course of achieving GPU. Actually to achieve the general public utility services. And the object and the income, profit or the surplus or the gain can then be logically considered. So Supreme Court has also said, you all know that two judgment, New Era, Education Society and ODA. And ODA has also given one more criteria that if there is a reasonable markup in the business, if it is at the cost or less than cost or less than reasonable markup, then it is not to be considered as a business. But I have seen in many cases, Department is CID appeals are also not accepting that. Now, I think some more jolt is to be given to them in this matter. Then let us hope they will understand the matter. Now, details of all bank accounts to be given. That is IFS code and name and account and current and saving and overdraft. And then now FD accounts are to be given. Separate disclosure in item number 23 for investment is specified in 11.5 you have to give. So automatic FDA details will go into 11.5 details. So FCRA account required to be disclosed because SBI and utilization and disbursement account details are to be given because if there is FCRA designated account with SBI Parliament Street branch Delhi is there, then limitation of 50 bank accounts in online form, give remaining accounts in annexure because in the form only 50 bank account details can be given. If it is more than annexure can be given. It means there are trusts having more than 50 accounts. All India, there are many trusts having many accounts. This is a most complicated and very difficult clause, next 114. Where it is been, they are asking details of all land or buildings or both. That slide number 31. I think now this is also become the most time consuming and things are asked which is seems to be immaterial. We have no idea why these data are collected, why these details of, the property when you have hold, how you have acquired, what is the date of acquisition, and what is the stamp value on the date of acquisition. I don't know for registration why these details are required. But anyway, government is collecting the data. They are asking these details. There are practical problems in these details. And particularly those trusts who are having very old properties, they are unable to find out. And in some states, Stamp Duty Act has come recently. In Maharashtra, it is from 70s, 76 or 74. The property acquired before that, there is no stamp duty. So stamp duty value, I think you can write the cost as a stamp duty value. Now, what is the value if you have received the property as a donation, gift? So their institute guidance says you can pass the entry at rupee 1 or any nominal value and bring it to the books. So that value can be given, and you can give the note on that. This asset has been received by the trust as a gift on such and such year, and those details can be given. But stamp value is really in some cases not possible. Or you have to go to register office and take what is the circle rate, or what is the ready reckoner rate, and calculate as per meter, and then you submit that. So that is really, I feel, unnecessary, and details which are not required for the purpose of registration. Anyway, pani bhar dena. So these are the things they are asking. Here, what I said earlier, incomplete form will be better than false or incorrect form. I will not say in detail what I mean is, because incomplete can be corrected later on, can be submitted, that can be cured in the given time, because they have to pass the registration, they have to grant or reject within 6 months from the end of the quarter in which application is made. Now here, if 30th September will make submission, then the March will be the end. If it is extended, if we do the application in October, then it will be June. So we have ample time. In this case, this property details is really giving trouble to all. Many have got many questions. What information is to be given? So what I told you, you are intelligent enough to understand. Next, please. Now this has return is filed for which the last date is acquired, that is assessment year 24-25. Most of the trust must have filed. That's it. You have to give the information. There is no any other much requirement. So 17 to, that is liabilities and assets and liabilities. You have to give corpus and reserves and other all liabilities. You have to give land and building, and those. It means brief balance sheet is to be given, the latest one which is available. In fact, that should be at 25th. And then during the course of proceedings, they will ask you the up-to-date accounts. So here details of assets and liabilities, just the figures are to be filled up.
If the date of application are not available, then we can give figures for 31st March 24 or 25, whatever is final balance sheet.
I'll give you practical solution. Whatever latest is available, you give. During the course of proceedings, you can submit. Because they will ask you a current balance sheet. Now here for the application, they are asking for last 3 previous years. So of course the details has to be given in the last previous year. Up to date is a big question. That can be given during the course of proceedings. Yeah, next please. Income received for last 3 years has to go on. There is a chart, grant received from central and state government. I think now Durga Devi Ma, the sounds are started coming. Now I'm just ending to it. But if that starts, then I won't be able to speak. The grant received from the companies under CSR, other specific grant, and other income. The other income will be include interest, capital gain, other donations will all go in one figure in other income. So they want mainly grants from the government, CSR, and specific grants, and all other. The corpus grants are also to be included. Whether, yes, certainly that will be other specific grants. So general corpus donations to be included in other income. Yeah. So whether the trust has incurred any expenditure of religious in nature, these details are required, particularly for the purpose of ATG. So last 3 years, how many expenditure, how much for religious, and percentage.